In this insightful and resonant conversation, Dr. Bertha Hidalgo, epidemiologist, associate dean, president-elect of the American College of Epidemiology, and multi-hyphenate creative, shares what it means to do it scared. She talks about building a fashion and lifestyle platform while hiding her identity, navigating academic spaces as a Latina scientist, and learning to step into courage even when her voice shakes. Dr. Hidalgo reflects on becoming a trusted public health communicator during COVID-19, bridging the gap between evidence and community, and redefining what it means to belong in rooms where she has often been the N of one. She also names a bold vision for public health, one that reunites science and society, and a personal vision of not losing her joy, creativity, or humanity while doing this work. You are listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast, episode 35. To all the courageous Black, Indigenous, and women of color leading in public health, this podcast is your space to turn up the volume on your courage. This space centers your voice. This space celebrates your passion. This space amplifies your courage. My role? To listen, to amplify, and to stand with you in the fight for equity. My name is Dr. Christy McClamrock. I'm an epidemiologist, consultant, the founder and CEO of Courageous Public Health, and the host of the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Each week, I have unfiltered conversations with BIPOC women in public health about the challenges you face, the power you hold, and your vision for the future. We talk about the authenticity, vulnerability, and courage that you bring, not just to public health, but to every part of your lives. Because courage is about action, even in fear. It's about taking up space, leading unapologetically, refusing to be erased, and knowing you never have to do it alone. If you're ready to turn up the volume on your courage, if you're ready to take up space, if you're ready to smash the racist, patriarchal, cisnormative, heteronormative, ableist, capitalistic systems, then let's dive into this brand new episode. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I'd like to start by introducing myself if you're brand new to the podcast, or reintroducing myself if you're a returning listener. My name is Dr. Christy McClamrock, and I am the CEO of the Courageous Public Health Consulting Firm, where we support public health organizations through workshop design and facilitation and speaking engagements. I am so excited to introduce you to my guest on this episode. Let me formally introduce her, and then we'll jump right into our conversation. Dr. Bertha Hidalgo is an associate professor with tenure in the Department of Epidemiology and the associate dean for the Office of Access and Engagement at the University of Alabama Birmingham School of Public Health. She holds degrees from Stanford University, the University of Southern California, and the University of Alabama at Birmingham. Dr. Hidalgo leads research programs in genetic epidemiology and dissemination science. She has a highly productive record of peer-reviewed research in relevant research areas with publications as lead or co-lead author in high-impact journals, including Nature, Scientific Reports, Diabetes, American Journal of Public Health, with over 100 publications. She has attained research funding from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, National Institutes of Health, the American Heart Association, and internal funding from University of Alabama, Birmingham. Dr. Hidalgo is the past chair of the Minority Affairs Committee and president-elect of the American College of Epidemiology, as well as a longstanding member of the NHLBI Board of External Experts. Dr. Hidalgo is also a recipient of the 2019 Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Early Career Achievement Award. Ready to be inspired? Let's listen to my conversation with Dr. Bertha Hidalgo. Bertha, welcome to the Courageous Public Health Podcast. I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's so nice to speak with you today.
Yeah. So we have to give our shout out to the person who connected us. I'll let you do it.
Oh my goodness. The biggest shout out to Victor Schoenbach of UNC, who is a mutual connection of ours and who for me has served as such an impactful mentor, whether he knows it or not, has been just such a force in my life, and I'm grateful for him.
Yes. Well, he'll know it now if he didn't know it before.
Right.
I feel the same way. He was one of my professors when I was in the UNC's epidemiology, the doctoral program, and yeah, just such a he's a great guy. And I had reached out to him to say, hey, do you have some ideas about some courageous women in public health who might be a good fit? And you were right there on the list. So yes, it's nice to. I love it when people connect me to other people. It's like growing our networks.
Yeah, I'm so honored. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Um, okay, well, I want to start by giving you a chance to introduce yourself.
Yeah. The on paper details are that I am an associate professor in the Department of Epidemiology at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. I also serve as their associate dean for the Office of Access and Engagement. And then as of September 10th, I'll be the president of the American College of Epidemiology. So that's another exciting sort of CV fact.
Amazing. Congratulations.
But thanks. I would say, like, if I were just to introduce myself in life, I would say that I am Bertha Hidalgo, a multi-hyphenate, multi-passionate human, hoping to do good in the world.
Beautiful. I love that.
Thanks.
I love that. Yeah. It's it's nice to get to introduce ourselves in like so many different ways, right? It's easy to get sort of used to introducing ourselves through our uh, professional lives, but
Yeah.
I love that. And certainly I know that we're going to talk about how that applies to your professional life and your personal life.
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay, well, I think we should jump right into our first question. So I always like to give our listeners some context about courage. So bravery is about taking action without fear, while courage is taking action despite fear. So I would love for you to share some experiences from your professional life and or your personal life where you've acted courageously.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'll tell you that this is actually really timely because um, something I'm doing for our CTSA, or we call it the CCTS, but the CTSA for our university, I've been paired with a TED coach, one of those TED Talk coaches.
Okay.
And the title of my talk is Do It Scared. And
Exciting.
yes, it's really like so timely that we are doing this now as I
Oh, this is
prepare.
so good.
Yeah. Uh and and I've we've had this conversation in my family with my not my immediate family. I've got two boys and a husband and a golden retriever. But with my with my sisters in particular, because oftentimes when one accomplishes things in life, people on the outside may perceive or make assumptions about ease, about the absence of fear, about confidence. And I think, especially earlier in my career, there was not a day where I didn't do something that I was scared to do. Give a talk, take a test, talk to someone that I'd never met. And what has separated me from other me who might not be where I am now is the simple fact that I did it scared. One of the things that I did that was very scary was to create an online social media presence. I did this as I was transitioning from grad school to postdoc. I did it in the fashion space. So I was a fashion blogger for quite a few years, actually. I did it under an anonymous, or what I thought was an anonymous profile, because I was scared that I would be perceived as non-serious in academic settings. But I was also advised by senior mentor people that that perception might be real, and that I should be careful how I navigated. But it became so successful that then people in academic spaces were very proud of what I was doing in the fashion space. But it was, I think, one of the more recent examples of ways in which I had to demonstrate courage, sort of step into that courage, let go of the fear, and just say, this is something I enjoy. This is something I want to try. And we'll just see where it goes. And yes, it's scary, but let's just do it.
Yeah. And being scared of other people's judgment is so understandable and also such a waste of our time.
Agreed. I have learned that as time has gone on. As the older I get, the more I realize, it's just really difficult to please everyone, and nearly impossible to be successful in doing so.
Yeah. Well, I love that you said you had people who are also like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
This is great.
Well, what ended up happening was that I joined so early in the growth of Instagram as a social media platform. I wasn't one of the early adapters, in human and in health behavior theories. Like I was not the early adapter. But I was early enough that the strategies I was using on social media, the content that I was sharing, it was allowing my account to grow fairly rapidly. I would gain 500 followers in an hour for any given post that I would share, which is unheard of these days. I mean, unheard of, especially on Instagram. And so because there was such rapid growth at some point, and because of the content I was sharing, inevitably I was picked up by the media, including other bloggers, and they would ask for my name. So it was hard. That was something that I didn't expect, and I didn't plan for. How do I continue under a pseudonym, for example? Like it wasn't ever something I considered. And so inevitably my name made it out there, for better or for worse.
For better or for worse. Well, it sounds like for better, actually.
Yes. Yeah. No, it all worked out really well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I'm definitely going to have to check out your Instagram page now.
Yes. Well, it's changed over time. So interestingly, in 2019, so this was about 6 years later, I had been doing a lot of fashion and lifestyle content. In 2019, I made the decision that I was now on the faculty. I had grown up as a scientist. I no longer felt insecure in my knowledge. There was still some insecurity, but I felt more secure in my knowledge as a scientist. I could boldly claim, yes, I am an epidemiologist, not just a wannabe. So I made the conscious decision to shift and really use my knowledge for good. And not to say that my knowledge of fashion and sartorial things were not for the benefit of others, but that it became very clear to me that as I assimilated to academic culture, I became a very ineffective lay language communicator. And also that there was a very distinct disconnect, a very clear disconnect, I should say, between what I knew and at any given time about cutting edge evidence and facts, and the knowledge that my immediate family, that my communities and others had, and that I should be the bridge for that knowledge. And so social media, especially the growth I had, the following I had established, really felt like it was primed for being able to share that information in real time. And then lo and behold, March 2020 comes along. We go into we get shut down, and now I'm sharing on a daily basis real-time information about COVID.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. Because you had this platform and then it was I mean, not that this necessarily happened, but it was the moment for the epidemiologists to shine. And
Yes.
uh, that's that's what should have happened. But I'm glad that you were able to then shift.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That was also another nerve-wracking time. That took courage. Were people going to accept the science content that I was going to share as a shift from lifestyle and, fashion content? Thankfully, because of the trust I had established, one of the things I learned about social media is that it's not dissimilar to the engagement that we talk about in community-based participatory research, for example, right? I mean, we go into communities, we establish trust, and then we do the sharing and the asking. And it's very similar to online spaces.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, it's funny. I had an experience with COVID. It's just making me, what you're talking about is making me think of this, that um, I was feeling very disconnected from my like public health people in March of 2020. I had other things going on in my personal life that had been taking a lot of my attention.
Mm.
And the day that our county was shut down for COVID, and we were one of the first six counties in
Oh,
the
wow.
US that shut down in
Wow.
San Mateo County, California. And I went on Facebook and I started a Facebook group and I just invited some friends epidemiologists that I was connected to on Facebook. And I was like, I feel the need to connect, right? Like, what is happening? What is happening in the world right now? And I was like, by the way, if you want to connect other people, feel free if you want to add other people to the Facebook group. And I started with 50 people, and in a day and a half, there were 1,000 people, and then in a
Oh
day
my
and a half, there
goodness.
were 2,000 people, and then there were 3,000 people. Yeah, all of a sudden, there was like all these public health professionals having conversations in sort of like a safe place to um, process what was happening. So I mean, it's the same kind of thing of like, making use of the power of social media to move public health along, in one way or the other. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that example.
Yeah.
Um,
And what a similarity also. I had no idea you had an online space during that time. So that's fantastic.
yeah, I did. It was called Public Health Rock Stars. It was the Public Health Rock
Oh,
Stars Facebook page.
I do remember that.
You do remember? Oh my
I
gosh.
joined.
Amazing. Were you a public health rock star?
I think I did join that group. I'll have to go
Maybe
back.
that's why your name sounded so familiar because we realized that it's not that we overlapped at UNC and we didn't overlap other places. So maybe that's why. Maybe
That's amazing.
that's really fun. That's really fun. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. That was such a fantastic space. I was trying to learn from everywhere that I could learn. You know what
Yes.
I mean? And so that was one of the spaces I think that I joined just to better understand and get real-time information. So then I could go back and share with
Absolutely.
the people who were following me on social media. So that's
Absolutely.
amazing.
I think there was probably a lot of that, we might never even like realize.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was trying so hard to get real evidence-based information out there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still relevant, right? Like we're
Right.
still
Oh, I know.
struggling.
Yes.
It's
Unfortunately.
yeah. Well, let's go to the next question, which is it's about claiming and expressing your power, especially in spaces that may not always welcome it. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts about, expressing and embodying your power as a Latino woman doing this work.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Because for a variety of reasons, my identity as a Latina woman has been um, a factor in how I view when courage is necessary. Oftentimes, in spaces where one is N of one, for example, um, it can feel uh, scarier, maybe, to voice one's opinion and or to appear less well versed on a topic, or even just the feeling of not belonging, I think sets one up for insecurity. And so I would say that my identity has been, again, right, a really interesting factor in how courage shows up for me in my life and
Yeah.
the things that I do. Um, Over time, I have grown to value the contributions that my identity can have and or make to spaces. Uh, that's not to say that uh, in all spaces I still feel non-fearful. In
Yeah.
fact, I went to a March for Science earlier in the year, and they asked me to speak on the importance of continuing to fund science and doing work that is needed to fill gaps in our knowledge about vaccines or chronic disease or what have you. And my voice started to quiver as I was handed the microphone. And it's actually the moment that inspired this topic for the TED Talk, Do It Scared, because even when your voice quivers, even when you're uncertain if though, despite those things, you know that it is an important act um, to do that, you should do it in spite of those physical and emotional and other barriers. So yeah, it's been a great lesson for me personally.
You know what? And sometimes, like, that quiver in our voices is exactly what we need to then realize now is a moment where I get to call on my courage.
Yes, yeah. I did coaching. I was coached by, I should say, Kemi Dole, who is a surgeon out of University of Washington. She has a podcast also, and in one of her coaching programs, one of the early coaching programs that I did with her, one of the phrases that stood out to me was that um, when you can't find confidence, step into courage. And that stuck with me so much because it so just described the way in which I have been living my life. And I had failed to recognize that in the absence of confidence, I could step into courage. And that in fact was what I had done over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you said earlier, it's like every day, like this is a practice that we all get to do every single day.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, that really resonated with me when you said that.
you. Yeah.
Which is why, it's funny when I ask people about, examples of courage, and it's almost ridiculous to be like, hey, can you give one or two examples of courage from your life? I mean, I could give you 10,000 examples of courage from my life, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I also wanted to talk to you about vision, and to ask you about your vision in several different contexts. So, I mean, one is your vision for public health, your vision for equity, and then also your vision for yourself.
Mm,
Yeah. What are your
yeah.
thoughts?
Well, let's start with public health.
Yeah.
Obviously, we are at a crossroads, I think, and maybe that's not so obvious, actually. Uh, I do think we are at a crossroads where uh, we as a society are faced with making decisions about a long-standing infrastructure that has advanced our health, extended our lives, saved the lives of newborns and older adults and people with chronic disease, ensured that there are systems in place to protect us and our food source and our water source, um, make advances like the mRNA vaccine, for example, that now has broader applications to things like treating cancer. And so we are at a crossroads for deciding how we are to move forward in the face of uh, severe questioning of the underpinnings of evidence and fact. Um, what does that mean for the future of public health? I think that we have an opportunity to redefine, and by we, I think that I mean those of us in academia and medicine and science broadly, but also those not in those spaces. And earlier, I talked about the disconnect between academia and the general public, and how accustomed we've become to publishing our science in academic journals and presenting at scientific conferences, all spaces where the general population is not. And so perhaps the rift that exists between those two worlds has finally done us in. And maybe this crossroads is an opportunity to bring these two groups of people closer together so that together we can make advances and forge a path ahead for a new public health. I worry about how long that will take. I worry about the feasibility. I worry about, does it all have to come crumbling down in order for us to be able to build it back up, or will we be able to salvage some of it and not have that big of a lift? I'm not sure, but that's what I see at the moment, is this coming together of the ivory towers, so to speak, right? But also those that we have traditionally excluded from a lot of these spaces and a lot of these conversations.
Yeah. That's actually one of the reasons why it's been so important to me to invite guests, courageous women to come on this podcast and talk about their courage, who are doing the work of public health, even if they don't define themselves as public health professionals. Because I do think that at this time, we are going to have to work with all of the people. Like,
Oh, I mean, undoubtedly, undoubtedly.
we have to take a broader view.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Um, what was the second topic? I know there was a vision for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have a vision about, equity or
That's
a
right.
vision for Latina women. Any of your visions and all of your vision is absolutely welcome.
Yeah. So I have given this some thought as we have had to navigate how we describe, um, reimagine health equity in academic spaces. And um, what is acceptable to a good majority of people is that the health of all people matters. And whether or not we want to call it out explicitly, equity is a central tenet of advancing health for all.
Yes.
And so this is not the first time I think that we've had to use different language to describe the work that we want to do. And so is this an opportunity? Is my vision that we have or capitalize on the opportunity to um, generate and or leverage other language to describe the work and advance health for all? Perhaps. Perhaps. And again, not the first time in our history that we've had to do so. So my vision is perhaps that we do so intentionally, non-performatively, and that we do it again, much like the vision for public health, collaboratively. My vision for myself
Yes.
is to not lose myself in this attempt to make public health better, to make health for all better. Not unlike the burden or burnout, I should say, that medical professionals experience. I think a lot of scientists right now, especially after the pandemic, we're already at the verge of burnout, and the way in which public health has been affected by socio and political forces in the last few months. I think many are probably, if not beyond, burnt out
Yeah.
and questioning, right, our space and our place in in public health and what it all means. So yeah, I would hope for myself that I would not lose myself, my hope, my multi-passionate, multi-hyphenate uh, self, and all of that.
I love that. Today has been a particularly rough day in public health. Um, and I do find some comfort in, back to social media, right? Like going on LinkedIn and seeing people's posts about, you know, it's been a rough day and it's been a
Yeah.
rough week. It's been a rough, it's been a rough, and like, and we get to feel our feelings about that and make space for those feelings. And then, you know, and then we got some work to do.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So that's a powerful vision for yourself, is to make sure that you don't lose yourself.
Yes, yeah, I
Thank you
appreciate it.
very much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. I'm very excited to now be reconnected to a public health rock star that I had loved.
Likewise, yeah. Thank you
I
so
think that's
much.
exactly, now that I've been thinking about it, I'm like, that's exactly where I know your name from.
Well, your questions have really inspired me to think more deeply about a lot of these issues. And so I thank you for the opportunity to have this time to think about that so intentionally. And also, it felt like a journaling session, which is like
Yes.
So also amazing. So yes, thank you.
My this is such a ridiculous joke, but I always think like I'm a cross between Brene Brown and Anthony Fauci. It's like, it's epidemiology, and it's also like let's make space for some, courage and vulnerability and reflection. And
Love it.
I'm glad that that benefited you. I feel like that was a good thing.
Absolutely. You're doing a
So,
great thing. Thank you.
thank you. So I want to make sure that our listeners know the best way to connect with you. What is
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So I'm Dr. Bertha Hidalgo on Instagram, and I might be the only Bertha Hidalgo on LinkedIn, although I'm not sure. But yeah, it should be some variation of that on both platforms.
Yeah, great. So we'll put those links in the show notes page so people can access them easily and learn more about you and learn more about your courage. Um, and yeah, again, like what a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, the pleasure was all mine.
Sometimes courage is letting people see you before you feel ready. Sometimes courage is being the only Latina in the room and speaking anyway. And sometimes courage is choosing not to lose yourself while trying to make public health better for everyone. Dr. Bertha Hidalgo reminds us that courage can be steady, quiet, shaking, determined, and always worth honoring. You can connect with Dr. Hidalgo on Instagram and LinkedIn to learn more about her work and her courage. All the links are in the show notes for episode 35 on our website, courageouspublichealth.com. Before you go back to your day, take a moment to sign up for the weekly Courageous Public Health podcast email updates so you never miss an exciting episode. You can do that on our website at courageouspublichealth.com because there are more powerful, vulnerable, authentic conversations to come. Thanks so much for being here. Until our next episode, stay courageous. Thank you for listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Visit courageouspublichealth.com to find the show notes for each episode and learn how to connect with us.